Jerry?
I'm ready.
Just want to make sure you're ready, brother. Here it is. Show me the money.
I took a long overflow, but still got it now.
Money! Jerry, does that make you feel good just to say that? Say it with me one time, Jerry. Show you the money.
Hello, and welcome to the DevOps Library. We're glad you found yourself here. This is Samantha with Episode 9, the ELK Stack. Before we get started, let me quickly explain what the ELK Stack is. ELK is an amazing open-source logging system. Truly, we have yet to find a single company that would not benefit tremendously by setting it up. If you've heard of Splunk, or might even be using Splunk now, one thing that you need to keep in mind is that Splunk is insanely, incredibly expensive. ELK can provide you with just as much, if not more, than Splunk when set up properly, and has a huge price tag of exactly $0. Almost every company we've been to usually starts out using Splunk, they end up loving it, then a few months later they realize they can't really spend a couple $100,000 just on logging. It's just too expensive, and that's when they realize everything that they've come to love can be done actually for free. Well, now that we've probably done a pretty good job of angering the Splunk gods, and hopefully piqued your interest in learning more about ELK, let's go ahead and get started. ELK stands for three separate pieces. The E stands for Elasticsearch, which is where we'll be storing all of our logs. The L stands for Logstash, which we can use for both shipping the logs from servers, as well as processing and dumping them into Elasticsearch. And lastly, the K stands for Cabana. Cabana is a gorgeous web interface, which traditionally has been hosted through Nginx or Apache, but as of Cabana 4 is now a standalone application. Well, today we're going to keep it simple and install all of these on a single fresh 14.04 Ubuntu server. Note, ELK does require a bit more memory and CPU power than most of our other tutorials, so please ensure that the VM you're using has at least 2 GB of memory and preferably 2 CPUs, which our Vagrant file includes automatically for VirtualBox. Please also keep in mind that the architecture we're setting up today is not how we would set it up for a large enterprise. ELK does scale extremely well, but properly setting up horizontal scaling will be covered in a later video. Alright, let's begin. First, let's go ahead and add the Apt Key and Repository for Elasticsearch. Run wget qo packages elasticsearch.org gpg key Elasticsearch sudo apt key add. This will be followed by sudo add apt repository deb packages.elasticsearch.org Elasticsearch 1.4 Debian stable main. Alright, let's install some packages. Run sudo apt-get update and sudo apt-get install default JDK Elasticsearch. We'll need to start Elasticsearch after it installs. To do that, let's just go ahead and run service Elasticsearch start. Now we need to install Logstash. The best way to install it is actually to grab the latest Debian packages. So let's do wget download.elasticsearch.org logstash packages Debian logstash 1.4.2 1 2c 0f5 a1 all.deb. Okay, go ahead and install that using dpkgi logstash 1.4.2 1 2c 0f5 a1 all.deb. We also want the contributed community plugins for Logstash as well, so one more long wget. This time run wget download elasticsearch.org logstash packages Debian logstash contrib 1.4.2 1 EFD 53EF all.deb. All right, let's install that as well. dpkg I logstash contrib 1.4.2 1 EFD 53EF all.deb. We don't need to start logstash quite yet, as we still need to make a configuration file for it. So let's go ahead and do that now. Head to Etsy, logstash, confd. Once there, create a new file. We'll name ours logstash conf. Now just follow along. Logstash configurations generally consist of some inputs, some filters, and some outputs. We won't worry about filtering today, so let's just start with setting up an input. Type input followed by a pair of braces. Now inside of those, we'll add two types of input. For the first one, type stdin followed by another pair of braces. Standard in will make it so that we can pipe standard input directly into logstash, or in other words, anything we type while running logstash in the foreground will get piped straight to our output that we're going to set up shortly. All right, let's add one final input. Type file brace, type goes to syslog, path goes to var /log/star. Start position goes to beginning, close brace. This input will automatically pipe anything that goes to our system logs, like our syslog for example, straight to our output. Also notice that we specified that we'd like our start position to be at the beginning. Normally, logstash starts out by tailing any files that we specify, but because we want some extra data to play around with, we're starting at the beginning, so that logstash parses everything that's already in our var logs folder. Okay, that's enough inputs. Let's set up two outputs for our data. Type output, then within the braces type std out. Codec goes to Ruby debug. This one just outputs everything logstash receives to standard out when logstash is run in the foreground. For our second output, type Elasticsearch. Host goes to localhost, then close your braces. This second output dumps everything into Elasticsearch so that our logs have a place to stay. Double check your file and make sure it looks like ours, then go ahead and save it. Alright, well we could start the logstash service now by doing service logstash start. Let's run it in the foreground to make sure everything is working properly. Logstash lives in opt, so run opt logstash bin logstash f logstash conf. You should start getting blasted by a ton of events from logstash. All of those are also pouring straight into Elasticsearch. Once it calms down, which will probably be in a minute or two depending on how old the instance you're using is, go ahead and try typing a few messages and press enter. They'll get saved in Elasticsearch as well since you added the standard inline to the logstash inputs. Alright, once you finish dumping some messages in, go ahead and hit Ctrl-Z to suspend the process. Then type bg enter to let logstash keep running in the background. You can always type FG to bring it back to the foreground or kill it completely using Ctrl-C. When you aren't testing, it makes a lot more sense to just run logstash as a service, but we're really just exploring it right now. Now that logstash and Elasticsearch are finished, we have one last piece that we need to install. Let's go ahead and download Cabana. Run wget download elasticsearch.org Cabana 4.0.1 Linux x64 tar gz. Alright, we'll untar that to opt. Run tar xvf Cabana 4.0.1 Linux x64 tar gz c opt. Okay, now go to that directory. We're going to just quickly rename the folder to Cabana, then run opt Cabana bin Cabana. Okay, so believe it or not, you're finally finished and you can begin playing with the stack. You can access Cabana using a web browser on port 5601. If you're using our Vagrant file, just visit 192.168.5.10:5601. When you first access Cabana, make sure you set the time field name to @timestamp. Once that's saved, go ahead to the Discover tab and select a recent date range. We'll add the host, message, and type of message for now. Note that you can zoom in on a time frame by selecting the range on the graph. We highly recommend spending some time getting to know Cabana. Here's a couple of screenshots of different ways you can use it to visualize the data. Soon we will be releasing several more videos covering each part of the ELK stack in depth, but hopefully this is enough to get you going. As always, thank you so much for watching. Take care and we'll see you soon. Let us know if you have any comments, questions, or thoughts in the comment section. Bye-bye.